They're saying Aaron Rodgers broke his leg. Well, at least that's what Ryan Clark is saying. How he knows that, I have absolutely no idea. But believing something that Ryan Clark says after he said that George Pickens was better than Justin Jefferson is absolutely stupid, and we will not do that here tonight. Carter the Power Bryant joins us. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Blake, I'm fantastic. I'm feeling pretty good about next Saturday, and it's not necessarily just because of Grambling. Honestly, Blake, you watched a film study earlier today, and it does make us uncomfortable as LSU fans. And I'm sure you've brought this up to this point, that LSU are 10-point favorites. 10-point favorites, Blake.
Well, that line dropped. Last night it was 12.
That's crazy. Absolutely.
So it shifted 2 points already.
And I know
it could be a 8-point game by kickoff.
It should be. I think that line is absolutely massive. I think this game will be competitive, but I do feel we saw some good things on Saturday, and hopefully that transitions to this next Saturday. And I think the biggest key for all of us, and I said this on your show about a month before the season began, you weren't going to know if LSU was a true championship contender with the Florida State game, because Florida State has a really freaking good team, okay? Where you'll see if LSU is not even necessarily a championship contender or even just a very good team is on Saturday, right? You're 3 games in. You're on the road. It is an 11 a.m. game. You have known this for months, okay? Mississippi State has had almost everything go against it this offseason. LSU had the opposite of Mississippi State. They had continuity going into this game. They know that they had weaknesses with morning kickoffs and road games last year. This game, I feel, will tell us if LSU is for real a team that's taken a step forward from where they were last year.
Before we get to Mississippi State, I only got one question for you, and you could be very deliberate. Anything that you liked, didn't like, or loved or hated against Grambling? Because listen, thinking that Denver Harris was going to come in and save the day was a little naive for some. But, Carter, they're not tackling in space. And quite honestly, they're not scheming shit up good enough for this defense, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's coaching and players up to this point. I think, obviously, Brian Kelly mentioned Mason Smith's rust. That's expected. Denver Harris's rust, that's also expected. What's not expected was how bad the tackling was. When they were in position, they weren't able to make plays. And then when they weren't in position, well, Blake, they weren't in position, right? So it's everything right now. And you do have to hypothesize, is it the message that the LSU defense is receiving? That's obviously a deeper rooted thing, but the coaching staff has had far more change on that side of the football than the offensive side of the football. So you do worry about that. But I think you've touched on all the defensive thing. I've also seen a few of your commenters bring up, we need to bring back the Big Cat drill. We need to bring back Oklahoma drill. Those days aren't coming back, I'm sorry to say.
Well, here's the problem with that, because I see people doing that. No, you don't, because you know why? It's a mentality. Yeah. Tackling is a mentality, Carter.
Yeah.
Sending pressure after the quarterback is a mentality. Like, hey, we're going to punch you in the mouth, you piece of shit. Like, those are the kinds of things that you got to have defensively that this team just doesn't have.
We're lacking.
And schematically, it's a part of it. Carter, if you're giving up a bomb and you're playing coverage, what does it matter if you're in cover 4, which they ran twice on Saturday, and you're giving up a long bomb or going after somebody? What does it matter to me?
It matters. As someone who is a film junkie, it doesn't matter to me either. Like, I think at this point, I mean, we don't need Tony Dungy's Tampa 2 back or anything like that. We just need guys to go out there and make plays. I just want to see guys make plays. That's it. Just show me something exceptional from somebody not wearing the number 18 uniform. Show me something, okay? And we've got to see it. And what's really interesting And I saw this in the film today. I was going to wait for Brian Kelly's press conference to hear more on this. But now Omar Speights is
probable.
And, we tweeted this clip out if you wanted to look at this. He was out by halftime. He was out of his shoulder pads by halftime. I didn't want to bring it up. I didn't want to speak before, Coach Kelly or whatever, but that's very interesting. Maybe Greg Penn comes back and plays more and brings some of that bite. So look, I'm really looking forward to see what they're going to do versus Mississippi State. And Blake, I'll be real with you. All right. Mississippi State, I've watched them. I've watched a good bit of their 2 games. Is Will Rogers a decent quarterback? Yes. Do they have some decent pieces? Yes. But this is an offense you should be able to at least tame. They were not that great versus Arizona. So hopefully the LSU defense will come with their chin straps buckled and ready to go.
One thing, Carter, about this, we can start with them offensively. Complete overhaul of what they were a year ago. They're going to run the ball, stretch zone, stretch veer, run it up the A gaps. They're going to run it all night long. I don't know though if they're going to do that against LSU. I think they're going to try to get it out quick. They're going to try to let Will Rogers beat you because he's experienced. I still think they're going to try to control the line of scrimmage. But, man, what they are running the football down your throat, and they just don't care. But the thing with Mississippi State is not them offensively. Carter, they got 2 linebackers in Watson and Johnson, and Sean Preston, the Louisiana cat. I mean, they are all over the place. Carter, here's why I know that they have a little bit of an issue offensively. Mississippi State had 4 turnovers in the first half and only had 14 points off of it. Their offense couldn't do anything.
Yeah. And Mississippi State, one thing about them, Blake, is they've always been good defensively, right?
Always scrappy as hell.
They've always been that way. And you can argue that, especially relative to expectations, they've kind of been DLU or DTU with all the DTs they put in the NFL. Now, of course, some of those guys, but yeah, I mean, they're good. They're really, really good defensively. And that's, you and I have always had an affinity for Emmanuel Forbes, right? That's with him gone. They've been good in these first couple of games. So,
well, I do think that their corners got beat a lot by the Arizona receivers. It's their safeties and linebackers, Carter, that were exceptional. Yeah. I mean, Sean Preston is a guy that we missed on. I'm sorry, but somebody's got to say it. Orgeron and them missed on him. They missed. Okay, I'm sorry. Would you not love to have Sean Preston in the back end? Because I would love it right now.
I would love to have a lot of guys there for LSU. And
Ed just missed so many dudes, man.
Yeah, and this was actually something that I worked on today. Blake, it'll be more of like an off-season thing, but it's amazing how many guys during that period have turned out to just not be any good. Some transferred to Campbell. That's an actual name of a university of where a top 100 recruit transferred to.
Their top overall recruit is playing at FAMU.
Yeah, I mean it's weird. It's very weird. So, yeah, it's crazy. But what I would say, Blake, to the LSU offensive side of the football, right? Because offense oftentimes comes down to you. Now, if you're playing a good defense, obviously that could change some things. From an offensive line perspective, the LSU offensive line, go on, say what you're going to say.
They got a challenge on their hand.
They do. I will say they were exceptional versus Grambling. This was a huge step in the right direction for this group. And I understand that there are a lot of people that want Lance Hurd to start and Emory Jones be the right guard. Brian Kelly confirmed that Miles Frazier will start, and it'll be the same LSU offensive line. I will give Miles Frazier some credit. It is amazing.
And his best game as a Tiger, without question.
By far. It is amazing what happens
when competition starts getting involved.
And also when the coach publicly says, hey, we're thinking about doing this. and it's obviously a good thing for Miles Frazier. Now he's going to have a test. I mean, this is a very, very good Mississippi State team, and I think LSU's got a chance to move the football on them still. This is also going to be a big Jaden Daniels game.
I agree.
It just is. He has got to play better on the road than what he did last year, and he's got to play better at a morning kickoff. Now, once again, it's not just him. With LSU has high drop percentage. We all know that. The wide receivers have got to step up. They, like you mentioned, there's no Emmanuel Forbes out there to lock us down, right? LSU should be able to get open and get separation. Will Chris Hilton have another big game? There's so many questions regarding that, but ultimately it's going to come down to Jaden. And if Jaden can do some of the things we saw versus Grambling, and I know the level of competition wasn't great, but he did play more within the structure of the offense, within the pocket. If we could see more of that, the LSU offense should be able to do enough to win this game.
All right. Here's why I think the offensive line has a massive test this week. It's not physically, Carter. It's mentally, because Zach Arnett is going to send the house. Okay? He is going to send the house. They're going to come with exotic blitzes. They're going to come with linebacker stunts and crosses. They're going to send dudes from the freaking next area code on a blitz. Johnson blitzed more times than I could count in watching the film today. They're going to have to mentally be more ready than physically. I think Jaden's got to use his legs, man. I don't care if he's got 100 passing yards or not. I saw what Arizona's did to him. They couldn't stop the quarterback running, okay? Let him use his legs. Let him do what he needs to do, and I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
All right. We do have this. I want to get to this in a minute. We got the super chat. I'll get to Denver Harris in a minute. Thoughts on Logan Diggs on his big game?
He was great. Obviously, a lot of it is a byproduct of near perfect blocking. It was good seeing LSU's offensive line open up really good holes, but Diggs gave you a lot of juice. And obviously what Brian Kelly said about Caleb Jackson today, he is a little hesitant because it was Grambling, but we're both big Caleb guys. I think we both could say we want him to get some run here, at least within this next stretch of SEC games. So that's obviously, really good thing. So yeah, I really like what I saw from Logan Diggs, and hopefully that continues.
Jared A says, BK said all Denver knows is press, press, press. Is that such a bad thing if he gets after it? Yeah, because he played press and got mossed in the back of the end zone. Thank you, Jared, for the super chat. But yes, it is an issue because they're not going to – Carter, they're going to have to get to the quarterback. They're going to have to send zone blitzes. They're going to have a lot of things that they're going to have to do. There's been an issue with people saying, oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Denver Harris never was running with the 13. That's horseshit. I saw it with my own eyes. If it was just me saying it, okay, then you could say, well, Blake's just full of it, that he's the only person saying it. But everybody and their mama that went out to practice, the actual people that spent their God-loving time to go watch him, this was the first rep that we saw him with the first team. So spare me that, he hadn't been one. Bullshit. If you're saying that, you're being a homer and you're an idiot. You're an outright idiot. He had been. I still think he's the most talented corner, though.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Blake. And look, I felt that way when he decided to come to LSU, and his high school grade for me coming out was really good. I really liked him a lot. But you are right. I'd received word that maybe I was wrong on this. And I get things wrong as much as anyone, right? And now,
it's way too early to say that you were wrong on one game.
Right. So I hope it pans out. I really do. And I think, obviously, this will help him make a step in the right direction. And the one thing, Blake, that is really hurting this team right now is the high volume of really good defensive backs with really good recruiting pedigree that have not panned out in recent years for whatever reason. And the reason why that catches up to you more at defensive back than at other positions, Blake, is because of
it's a passing league.
It's a passing league. And number two, there's more DBs at play. You have to play 5 at a time.
Carl, they played 6 on that long run against Grambling.
Yes. And it's just volume. You need a lot of those guys. You need them to play on special teams. And so those guys aren't doing a whole lot on special teams right now. So it's really, really, really hard. Some of it is development. Some of these guys are obviously previous to this staff, but those guys have got to step up. I mean, at some point you need somebody out there who can make a play. And is the LSU defense, have they been in not the best spots? Has the scheme been the sharpest? No. But at some point, Blake, take out any advanced film study or analytic BS, success rate, anything that I do or you do. It comes down to players making plays. Not a whole lot of people are making plays. It's that simple. And I know Florida State's offense is probably the best in the country. And well, Grambling's isn't. And guess what both of them did for the entire game, Blake? They made plays, and our guys didn't. And when I talk to former players who help me with film studies, if there's a question I need to ask, or just anyone that's played the game at a high level, they'll say, hey, let's just simplify this. Are you out there making plays or are you not? And right now, we are not making enough plays. And that has got to change, especially when you go on the road in the SEC.
I agree. And it's an 11 a.m. kickoff. Dane Bergeron says LSU needs to bring back the big cat drill. Toughen up. That's what you said earlier on the $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Dane. Yeah, I agree. And look, after the Jacoby and Guillory, the guy hit him in the face mask. They gave up 61 yards in the last 3 quarters. The problem was the first quarter, Carter, they gave up 173 yards. That's the problem. And Grambling came out and look, here's the problem that I walked away with that game with is Hugh Jackson out-schemed Matt House in that first quarter massively.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was bad.
Yeah.
You know, if we're going to talk about players and guys not making plays, well, Matt House got out-schemed by an NFL dude. Oh, you want to put 5 guys in the box and we got 7 to block in the box? All right, we're going to run it right at you and gain 15, 17, 22 yards, 37 yards on one of them. But what do I know? You know?
No, you're right.
And I don't want to be a Debbie Downer on that, but it's the truth is the truth. It's not – what do you want me to say? I mean, come on. Now, looking at Mississippi State, you know what's interesting? They want to get this Marks kid involved a lot. Now, that little sucker can run. You worried about this Mississippi State running game at all?
What's interesting, Blake, is their first big touchdown versus LSU last year was on a run play, right? And it was Marks to the left side. And
Mason, not Mason, number 8. God dog it. Major Burns had a bad miss.
Yeah, we did not fill the run well. And I will say on 4th and short, we made a lot of really good tackles. And also that was the first Perk game. So they did not have film on Harold Perkins. Could you imagine? And obviously he played some versus Southern, but they didn't have real film on him yet. Could you imagine that being unleashed for the first time? You know, obviously you can't prepare for that. So now
you can. His name's Deshaun Womack.
Yeah. Put some new guys out there.
If you're not getting home with the 4 that you have now, why not try somebody new that is more talented than anybody?
Yeah.
Why? If Braden Swinson can't get home, if Ovia Gofu can't get home, what are you waiting so long for about giving a shot to Deshaun Womack against Grambling?
Something else I want to mention about Womack was his special
teams play.
He made 2 big ones, 2 absolutely massive ones. And Blake, I know you feel this way as well. A lot of people don't care as much about like the special teams. I look at my analytics, people turn off when I talk about special teams. What I will say though is it does send a message to the rest of the team when you do big things on special teams.
He had a Jarvis Landry moment.
Yeah. It does send a message to the rest of the team. When you make a big play on special teams, you get reps on actual defense. Because then that lets everybody else know on special teams, hey, if I keep working my ass off, I'm going to get a chance to get some run. I'm going to get a chance to go out there and make a big play. I can get out there and actually play defense. And most people would rather, of course, play the actual position than just play special teams. So give Womack some run. Let's see what he's got. Something else, I think, Blake, if your defense is struggling, one of the best things you can do as a defensive coordinator is just tabula rasa the defense. Clean slate it. Give Mississippi State some things that they had not seen yet, right? So flashback to 2021 when LSU went to Mississippi State and won, right? They just played rush 3, drop 8. Mississippi State did not expect that to actually happen. You take a look at one of the best, defensive performances towards the end of that Orgeron regime. It was 2022 versus Bryce Young. They showed a completely different defense. So if I'm at House, I'm going to say, well, let's see if I could just switch everything up. Let me show them some things that I haven't done yet, and maybe that could work versus a pretty solid Mississippi State offense.
All right. Let's get to the positive because people are calling me a Deborah Downer. I think LSU has the ability to waltz in here and win by 20. I think they have that ability.
Yeah.
Okay. Will they is the biggest question. You go into Mississippi State and you get a 20-point win, a 14-point win, you're feeling really good about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least I would feel pretty good about it.
Yeah. And one more defensive thing before we get back to the offense. I know we're running out of time. I will say that Mississippi State and Arkansas, who you play in 2 weeks, they're lacking skill position.
No
talent.
doubt.
They have good experienced quarterbacks.
Outside of the right kid, Mississippi State does not have weapons on the outside.
They
just don't.
They have two. They have Tutu Griffin, and that's basically it. And obviously,
that is the most New Orleans nickname of all time, is it not?
Right. Okay.
Tutu.
Arkansas's best offensive weapon is a receiver who transferred from Texas A&M Commerce. Now, it doesn't mean he's not good, but that is what
don't make fun of TAMUU.
But that shows you that this could be a good bounce back couple of weeks here for this LSU secondary. They do have favorable matchups against guys that will that aren't what you would consider Keon Coleman's, right? So to the offensive side of the football, yes, LSU can go out there and do it. I just think, though, with what we've seen from this offense, we just haven't seen that enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
In order to blow a team out, especially on the road, you've got to put together 2 good halves of football, all right?
For once, we do have to play a complete game.
Yes. Even if for some reason LSU were to fall up short in this game, which I don't think will happen, I do want to, at the very least, Blake, see a non-Jekyll and Hyde football team. You should not drop off from first to second half like you did.
What's so wild about that? Brian Kelly was such the opposite with him.
Yes.
And
last year, yes,
such the opposite.
Yeah, and I just want to see that. In order to beat someone by that much, you've got to put together some complete games, and that's going to take Jaden being very consistent, playing within the framework of the offense. I do agree with you that rushing lanes will be open because Zach Arnett, it's in his blood to get very exotic, and Jaden's really good at punishing exotic defenses with his legs. But rip it. Let's freaking rip it. All right.
Yeah, in your film breakdown, he misses Chris Hilton and Aaron Anderson twice.
Yeah. That was bad. That was bad.
It was bad. And you know what? Mac Markway's giving away the run. I'm not going to tell him what he does, but I mean, it's as blatant as day. If it's a run play, Mac Markway is going to tell you it's a run play. And you better pray to God I'm the only person on planet Earth that picked up on that. You better pray to God.
Yeah, that'll get fixed though.
It better.
But at this point, let's see it, Jaden. Let's see this.
Go mess somebody up. I'm tired of this pity pat bullshit. I'm just being real with you. Go ahead. Go.
Let's run them out of their own building. That would be obviously really refreshing to see.
No doubt. All right, last one for you. Are people overreacting to Texas, Alabama?
No, I think.
You really? That's a bad Bama team.
Yeah, like I think you and I were fading Bama. I obviously took some heat for saying Florida State was way better than them. You said the same thing. We don't agree oftentimes on the national scale. That's where we disagree more, honestly. But
here's the thing. If I would have told you that LSU went 7 of 18 on third down and is a crazy fumble away of escaping with that game, they had to go down and score, and I get it. Carter, if Alabama gets that fumble or that fourth down is not picked up, Alabama's going to walk out of there with a 3-point win.
Yeah.
With that quarterback play, dude. That is the most Les Miles type of thing that I've ever seen. They were a fumble away, dude. Let's call it what it is. Texas didn't beat them down like everybody says that they did. They didn't.
No. I do agree that the score is misleading. I do also think the Quinn Ewers hype train's about to get out of control because I don't think people truly remember how mediocre he has been outside of playing Alabama, right?
Yeah, this is the best game of his life.
And obviously last year
he only completed 62% of his passes.
and last year he was killing him before he got hurt. He was killing him.
True.
So outside of that, he has been mostly a mediocre quarterback compared to his recruiting rankings. So yeah, the Texas hype train is going to be out of control. And look, something else about week 2 results is don't overreact to week 1 results. The same thing happened last year.
Agreed.
LSU was the only West team after week 1 who did not look good. And now after week 2, every other SEC West team doesn't look great. And LSU is now viewed as not as bad as they were versus Florida State. It's the same exact thing as last year. So always let things play out, and week 3 will tell us a lot better story about the Tigers, man.
Score prediction?